Alright, all you video gamers, welcome to yet another 3D Ratinator X Exterminator edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with a title like that, we decided to go with a game none other than Ratinator. And no, Maestro, not the name of the trap you can get from your local convenience store. It's an actual Flash game that's on a website. Yeah, just before you say anything, it's a Flash game, not a rat trap. And I guess with that explanation out of the way, I think it's time for us to get ready to gear up, make our way through a maze as we try to take on different bugs of different shapes and sizes with no cash reward at the end as we get ready to paint the picture. Alright, this video game story began just about 15 years ago when I first got my hands on the said game on a website that was known as miniclip.com at the time. And the only reason I was able to play this game, and yes, before anybody says it at home, I was playing this game at school but finished my schoolwork prior to playing this game. And I came across it saying, oh, it's a rat in a maze taking on bugs. How bad could this be? And little did I know, besides the teleportation, energy, health, and everything else I had to keep up with, the different amount of bugs that I had to fight during this game, including rats, was ridiculous. And not to mention, they would come in different shapes and sizes. Cause at 1 second I was fighting tiny little rats on the ground. Next thing you know, I would go 2 rooms over and fight a giant oversized conquistador-sized mouse that would make Don Quixote blush. And I would go from there to fighting giant bats, giant scorpions, and even, and I hate to mention this, giant spiders. And the reason why in the world I hate to mention this part of the story, folks, because once again it proves that when it comes to spiders, it's my ultimate kryptonite when it comes to games. Because the second I saw that spider on screen, even the little tiny ones that surrounded that big spider on the screen, I would immediately scream and get up from the computer going, "Ah! Spider! Get it away from me! Get it away!" And not only disturbing everybody who was playing on the computers or doing their schoolwork in the class, but also getting me kicked out of that computer place for that day as well. And ever since I played that game on that one fateful day, I made a solemn vow to try to finally get over my fear of spiders by actually running into spiders in different games. And I would run into spiders in games such as Resident Evil, Ninja Gaiden, and other great games throughout the years, slowly but surely preparing myself for the big spider challenge, as I called it, that it would take place 5 years after that one moment in the computer lab. Long after I graduated and several different websites later, I would finally be able to find this game once again to try to take on those spiders, only this time they would add some new tricks to the game as well. Not only giving you an opportunity to shoot different forms of lasers from your Ratinator gun, but also giving it a little bit of a 3D upgrade for the different amount of bugs you had to fight, including fighting giant ants and even fighting tanks, which made no sense in a game where you were exterminating rats. At first I thought those tanks were there to help me when I went through the level, but then the next thing I know I would hear boom! And then it would shoot me. I was like, hey, wait a minute, whose side are you on? The bugs or my side? Jesus! And after my horrible run-in with those tanks, I would once again run into my old friends, not only the bats, the scorpions, and even would run into new enemies that I wouldn't be able to see because I went into the wrong rooms, known as ants, and even running into my old friend once again, the spiders. And once I ran into these giant, oversized Don Quixote windmill-sized Buick-loving spiders, I would finally be able to take them out with this giant, oversized cannon. I would be able to get to take them out with one big, oversized blast as the spiders were breathing fire at me all while I was trying to take them out. And after I was able to beat those giant, oversized spiders, I finally was able to let out a gleeful yeah! All while my dad was in another room telling me to be quiet while taking on these creatures. But after I was able to finally conquer my fear of those giant oversized spiders, I jumped immediately into the level editor mode and said, let's take it one step further, and would decide to create my own level that had a different echelon of fear of mines all on each floor, not only featuring one spider on one floor, then another 2 giant spiders, then followed by 3 giant spiders, and so forth and so on, until I reached the final floor that had well over 9 spiders in it at once, with a couple of scorpions, ants, and I do believe a giant bat just to even it out. Now, I made it through every single one of those floors with little to no problem, almost dying once I reached floor 5, but once I reached that 7th floor and saw all those spiders crawling in one spot, I started to shake a little bit and really started to get nervous, started to sweat when I saw all those spiders all over the place, and I couldn't handle it. Once they all crowded me and surrounded me from different areas, I clicked the X button on the screen and said, nope, not today. I am not getting surrounded and having fire breathed at me by a whole bunch of giant spiders. And then, when I immediately started to scream that line, my dad came in and immediately told me, what's wrong with you, boy? And I would tell him right off the bat, Dad, there was 7 giant spiders I was fighting in this game, and would point at the screen and at the same time would realize that there was a spider crawling right on that TV screen as well, for me to look at the spider, look at the TV screen for the computer monitor, and just spin out of the chair, run toward my dad, spin past him, and run right out of the house afterwards, never playing that game again, saying that it summoned spiders from out of nowhere. And I guess with that said, folks, wraps it up for another 3D Ratinator Exterminator Spider Arachnophobia edition of the DJ Smokey's True Video Game Stories. And with that, we'll be back with more right after this. So stay tuned.